Good morning and welcome to our presentation on standardized testing. My name is Corey Gillette. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and I'm joined today with a K-12 panel of administrators who are going to go around and introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. Great to see you. My name is Sarah Wiersman. I'm the Elementary Supervisor for Barlow Mountain and Scotland Elementary.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Palladino. I am the proud principal of Ridgeberry Elementary School, and it's great to be here with you today.
Good morning, Lisa Fries. I am the school test coordinator and assistant principal at Scotts Ridge Middle School.
Good morning, Tom Grace, assistant principal and school test coordinator at East Ridge Middle School.
Hello, Jennifer Fostoli, assistant principal at Ridgefield High School and also test coordinator for Ridgefield High School.
Good morning. So it is our obligation as a district to inform our families about the assessments that our students are going to take. So let me share the agenda for our presentation today. We're going to start with overviewing the different state assessments that our students are going to take this spring. That includes the Smarter Balance Assessment, the Next Generation Science Standards Assessment, and the SAT School Day for grade 11. Then we're going to discuss what parents can expect for results, and then we will describe the assessment administration and our schedule for 2021. We will end our presentation by answering questions. Prior to this presentation, we sent out a form to parents to collect questions that they might have about this topic. So in addition to answering some of your questions during the presentation, we are also taking additional questions live that we will answer at the end of this session. So we're going to start with a review of these different assessments. So the state of Connecticut does require all districts to administer the following assessments: the Smarter Balance Assessment, the Science Assessment, and the SAT School Day. So similar to the standards that public schools are required to align their curriculum to, these assessments measure students' progress against those standards. This year, we're not quite there yet. So this year, unlike last year when we didn't take these assessments, all districts are still required to give these assessments. So the Smarter Balance Assessment is given to students in grades 3 through 8, and that measures their progress in language arts and mathematics. The Science Assessment is only given to students in grades 5, 8, and 11, and again, that measures their progress against the science standards. Students in grade 11 also take the SAT School Day, and that too measures mathematics and language arts standards.
The SBA assesses a student's ELA and mathematics knowledge. Both areas are assessed through the Computer Adaptive Test, the CAT, which adjusts to a student's ability level as they complete the test. Mathematics is additionally assessed through a performance task, a more complex task during which students are asked to solve longer, multi-step, real-world problems. The performance task measures students' depth of understanding of math concepts and analysis. Let's move on and we'll take a look at some samples across the elementary and secondary level. Overall, the SBA presents a variety of item types to measure what students know. This first sample shows us an ELA question. For ELA, we might see passage reading followed by multiple choice questions or multi-select questions. Also, after passage or sentence reading, students taking the SBA may be asked to highlight or click and drag keywords. Additionally, there are multi-part passages and questions, for example, with Part A and Part B, and a short and long answer response requirement. This sample shows us passage reading followed by two types of responses: multiple choice questions for which the student has to choose one response, such as in item number 2, or has to choose more than one correct response, like in item 1. Note the important vocabulary highlighted within the test questions, such as the word best. To fully respond, students are asked to pull the correct answer from the text and/or summarize the text. All along the way, students should be asking themselves, what type of question is this? What important vocabulary do I see?
So this is an example of a middle school short answer response. There are also long answer, inferencing, and fill in the blank questions. You will notice that the passages in the middle school readings are much lengthier, therefore requiring more stamina on behalf of the students. The passages in middle school are more sophisticated and require students to possibly page back and forth looking for context clues.
This sample shows us a mathematics problem as part of the performance task. As I shared earlier, the mathematics portion of the SBA includes both the computer adaptive test and the performance task. Students are required to apply their problem-solving skills, and the math problems and questions also have a variety of presentations. While completing this question, students would be making use of scrap paper provided to them, and when complete, they would type in their answer. Other questions and response types for mathematics might be multiple choice, table interactions, graphing, and more. And like with the ELA, when completing the math problems, students may be asked to click and drag, highlight, underline, or circle items and keywords.
This is an example of an open response math question. You will notice that the demands and complexity increase substantially from the elementary example. The tests are adaptive, so the tests adjust to test each student by basing the difficulty of the future questions based on their previous answers. This provides a more accurate measurement of student achievement and progress. Students will have access to the embedded tools like the calculator, as well as scrap paper to solve and then type in select answers. In the middle school currently, students are using the Big Ideas platform, the online textbooks, so they are very familiar with solving problems using scrap paper and then recording their answers in a digital format. This is an example of a 7th grade performance task. The mathematics performance tasks challenge students to apply their knowledge and skills to explore and analyze a real-world scenario. They can best be described as collections of questions and activities that are connected to a single theme or scenario. These activities measure a student's depth of understanding of mathematical concepts. Students will have access again to the embedded tools like the calculator and highlighter to assist them in solving the problems.
The next generation science standards assessment is about taking a look at the instruction students receive in the science class. Science when engaging in NGSS-like science classes are beginning to think and act like scientists. Anyone over the age of 20 did not get their science instruction like this. It generates a significant amount of thinking as well as collaboration between students. The instruction students receive supports, does not test to the NGSS standards. However, it does address the format and the expectations through anchoring bundles and experiences through phenomena, which is essentially a real-life problem that sparks student thinking. There are 3 dimensions that are addressed during NGSS instruction. SEPs are science and engineering practices, such as asking and defining problems, developing and using models. Or DCIs, or disciplinary core ideas, focus instruction to the core ideas, but are broad enough within each one of those sciences in order to engage looking at multiple interactions between physics and matter, for example. The cross-cutting concepts bridge disciplinary boundaries and unite core ideas in science and engineering, such as identifying patterns, systems, and system models, or stability and change. This is a sample of a 5th grade cluster item. The test sophistication is very similar to what the students see when they take when they take the SBA. There is a split screen. Students have information pertaining to a particular demonstration or experiment based on lessons that were taught during class, as well as the activities students engage in. They do not necessarily have to be familiar with the problem presented, but they do need to apply the skills previously discussed in order for them to be successful with the questions. Students have to read the information, apply those skills in order to be successful. 8th grade will have a bit more of a sophisticated problem, taking a look at some of the 8th grade problems. This is an example of an 11th grade problem. There we go, thank you. The 11th grade assessment follows the same model as 5th and 8th grade. However, there is more information and there are greater connections the students are expected to make. They're given various information from various elements in order to put together a whole complete picture of what the scenario is bringing them. These curricular units, called bundles, are aligned with the NGSS standards and support student development of the skills to be successful. The interim assessment block gives students the opportunity to see and work with the format of the interface, as well as to work through sample test items. When we talk about smarter-based assessments, smarter balance, and NGSS assessments, it's important for us to recognize that these are not comprehensive. They do not represent the whole child. They are used as a single data point of many to measure student achievement. NGSS has also been used to gauge effectiveness of science instruction in the classroom, and if changes need to be made from year to year, according to the bundle alignment within grade levels, then those changes can be made.
The Connecticut SAT School Day is given to all 11th grade students. A few years ago, the state of Connecticut adopted the SAT School Day as the accountability measure for 11th grade students. It is the traditional SAT that you would take for college entrance exams, and actually the SAT School Day exam score can be used for college admissions. The SAT looks at ELA and mathematics standards, and proficiency is determined by a formula created by the College Board. And benchmark essentially means that a student would receive a 75% or a C in a college level course.
So what can parents expect to see for the results of these assessments?
For the SAT School Day, colleges or students will be able to get their scores about 4 weeks after the test is administered. The scores are usable for college admissions. There is no essay for the Connecticut School Day, and students actually have the ability to send up to four free college score reports to colleges, and they need to choose those the day of the exam. They cannot go back and choose those score reports after the exam. So before the exam, students will be given a list of all college codes in America, and they can fill that out on the Connecticut School Day, the actual day of the exam. Scores can also be canceled. This is the test that is used for accountability measure for the state of Connecticut. So we encourage all students are required to take the SAT School Day, and scores can be canceled. So there will be forms in all testing locations. So if a student wants to take the exam and then cancel their score, they have up to 3 days to cancel their score. However, that score will still count for our school's accountability for the state measurement.
The results for the SBAC and the NGSS would be mailed to parents in the summer. It's actually quite a quick turnaround that the state does have. While we take it in May, the parents will get the results usually by the end of the summer. It's scored on a 4-point scale. Level 1 does not meet standard, level 2 approaching standard, level 3 meets standard, and level 4 exceeding standard. The next slide will show you a score that you will get, a score guide that you would get sent home to you. So this is Jonathan's ELA score. You'll notice a number of 2590 on the top left-hand side. That is called their RIT score. And it shows that this student is at a level 4 exceeding standard. It's broken down to 3 categories: reading, listening, writing, and research inquiry. On the right of it, it'll tell you how your child overall is doing on each category. So Jonathan is reading above standards. His listening is approaching standards, and his writing and research is above standards. On the bottom of that side, there is a Lexile score. This is a good tool for parents because it will show you a little bit about where they're reading. So a lot of times parents at the elementary school will ask us, how do I know what books to get my kids over the summer? This Lexile score will connect to books that are appropriate for you. The right side, you'll see two graphs here. One would show Jonathan's score when he took the SBA in 4th grade, and his score at that time was a 2473, which is just meeting standard. It also lays out where a 1 would fall, a 2, a 3, and a 4. To the right of that, you'll see his current 5th grade scores and where he's scoring. So he was able to move up to a level 4, which exceeds standards. It also shows you the school average and the district average. As Tom said, this is just one data point that we use in a student's education. On the bottom, you'll notice that there's a margin of error type thing where it will show you that Jonathan on any given day could actually score between a 2580 and a 2600. The next slide is a similar slide, but it's going to show you how Jonathan did on his math scores. So again, the top left-hand corner is your RIT score for math. Jonathan, it would be considered level 2, which is approaching standards. Same thing, it's broken down to 3 categories: concepts and procedures, problem solving and modeling, and data analysis, and communication reasoning. And again, next to each shows you how Jonathan is doing, where he's falling below standards on concepts and procedures and approaching standards on the other 2. There's also a quintile number. Now, we don't necessarily use those in schools, but if this is something you wanted to use, you could actually look it up and it'll show you what Jonathan's ready to learn in math. And again, there are 2 bar graphs there that show his 4th grade scores and how he did in 5th grade, and again with a district and school average. And again, the bottom is the same type of number of how he could do on any given day. So this is what you can expect to see mailed to you over the summer.
And the school report for the NGSS would be similar to what you saw here. So in the last part of our presentation, we're going to talk about what parents can expect for the spring administration of these assessments and what our schedule looks like. So obviously, due to COVID, we have some traditional structures and some new structures in place. So traditionally, and what will continue, is that students will take the assessments on school devices when they're digitally administered during designated testing windows. And as always, our school administrators have made sure that those testing windows are as small as possible to limit the amount of minutes that students spend on testing. And also, as traditional, students will take the SAT with paper and pencil. Teachers will proctor those assessments in school. So some of the new things that we are dealing with this year as part of our assessment structure. In 3rd through 8th grade, students will be taking the assessments in school and at home. So depending on the learning model of the students, some of the tests may be administered at school and some of the tests may be administered at home through a secure browser. So that means that proctoring is digital, and it could be a parent proctor instead of a teacher proctor or no proctor. However, in grade 11 for the SAT and the NGSS, these will all be given in person at school. All cohorts will be invited in to take the exam, and there will be a special schedule for those exam days. Everything will be shared with families prior to those events. So really the big thing here that's different for us is that some students will be taking the assessment remotely if they're part of cohort C in grades 3 through 8. Of course, we will work with families and students to make sure that they're comfortable with this administration. So in terms of our assessment dates, at the elementary level, all 6 elementary schools give the assessments within a window. So the Smarter Balanced assessment will be given in the window from May 4th to May 29th. Same thing with the NGSS between May 4th and May 29th. The only difference here is the NGSS is given across 2 days in all the schools. Your school administrator will be reaching out with the specific dates and times that your elementary students will be taking those assessments. At the middle school, it's a smaller window. All students will be taking the Smarter Balance assessment between the 10th and the 18th of May. But again, you will also receive more specific information on the times and dates when each grade level will be taking those assessments. All middle schoolers will be taking the NGSS on May 19th.
The SAT school day and the PSAT 8-9 are both being administered on March 24th. The state of Connecticut selects the primary test dates for the SAT, and the second primary test day is actually during our April break. So we had to choose March 24th. The NGSS exam is on April 7th. That schedule has been communicated to families for that modified schedule. Notice the test dates are a little earlier than the middle school and elementary school. That is purposeful. We have a large number of students taking AP exams in May over multiple weeks, and the weeks leading up to the AP exams in April, right after April break. Any type of schedule change impacts a greater number of students than just the students that are tested. So any type of schedule change we want to happen prior to April break so that we can support our students who are preparing for the AP exams in May.
Okay, so that was our presentation. We described all the different assessments, showed you some samples, talked about what administration would look like for the different cohorts of students and the different learning models and grade levels. And then we shared with you what our schedule is going to look like. So we've had a couple of different questions given to us prior to this presentation, and we're still open to accept questions right now during the presentation. So one of the questions that we had was about math placement and how these scores will be used in terms of math placement for this year. So the good news is that a representative team of elementary, middle, and high school math leaders and administrators has been working actually for over a month on putting together what math placement is going to look like for this year. So parents can expect to hear information and a presentation about that process in the next few weeks. So another question that we've had is about the assessments and opting out. The state of Connecticut, as you've heard from the different administrators, does require all school districts to administer these assessments and also requires districts to have at least 95% of the students taking the tests. If you have questions about your specific student and these tests, please reach out to your school administrator and we would be happy to have a conversation with you about that. And I think that is all the questions. I don't see anything else coming in yet. If your student is in cohort C, you can expect, if your student is in cohort C in grades 3 through 8, you can expect that you will be hearing in the middle to the end of April about what that remote assessment will look like. And we need to make sure that all students take the assessment on a secure browser on a school device. So we will be reaching out to you from the elementary and middle school level to make sure that your student is prepared, and we will engage in some practice, some low stress practice with your student to make sure that everybody is comfortable and that there's no big anxiety about it on the day of. John, if you can take us back to the dates for testing, we have a request. If you could go back into the presentation, we have a request from a parent to see the testing dates one more time. I can tell you again. John, can you go? There we go. So it is slide. Yep, thank you. There we go. Okay, so here are the elementary, the middle, and the high school testing dates again. And remember that we said that in the elementary level, and at the middle school level for a Smarter Balance assessment, those are windows and you'll get more specific times from your building administration. In middle school, you know the exact day for the NGSS, May 19th. And then Jen talked about the high school dates, which are all specific. March 24th for SAT, PSAT is also on the 24th, and then April 7th for the NGSS. Let me just check to see if we have any. Okay. Okay, so our purpose today was just to make sure that our community members understand the different kinds of assessments that our students are required to take from the state of Connecticut. And we hope that we gave you an idea of what that looks like and what administration will be like this spring and what our planned dates are. Please feel free to reach out to any of your child's administrators for any more questions in this topic. And we will leave this presentation up on the YouTube website for